People have been asking for a Western North Carolina update. And I have a full video coming. We interviewed a ton of people. We collected as much information as we could while we were there about all the things I had been reading about online, like FEMA response and some of this stuff about supplies being confiscated and people not being taken care of. And, you know, there was this story that came out at the very beginning where it almost seemed like organizations and people there, the officials, almost didn't want people to be rescued. They almost didn't want them to have supplies. And it was very odd. It was almost like this power struggle between the people there who were trying to help and wanted to make a difference and were getting turned away, and like we're driving hours with equipment and everything to come in and help and just getting turned away and not even being let in. It was a power struggle of like who was going to be in control of helping the people instead of worrying about helping the people. And it was all very bizarre to me, and I just wanted to see it for myself. And so I'll have a full thing coming, but I wanted to at least tell you a Spark Notes version since everybody's been asking. So we saw one, I promise you, I saw one FEMA person while I was there, one dude from FEMA. And for his interest and for his security and safety of his job and his well-being, I'll be very brief. But he had nothing nice to say about FEMA. He was disappointed in the response. Most of the applications that he was filing were getting rejected. He was pissed, and he was a FEMA contractor. And so what does that tell you? And I'll leave it at that as far as what he goes, because I was honored that he even took the time to talk to me. So my take on North Carolina is, at the end of the day, it's like we know the post office sucks. FEMA is just like the post office. It's just a government-ran organization with a lot of people up top who don't really care, who are getting a fat check. All the money, like with anything, is not properly allocated. And it's just like it seemed like they had just a lack of a response plan. Some of the people I talked to there that were very well-versed on storm response said that the problem with like FEMA is not that everybody at FEMA is evil or that we should shun them or go throw eggs at their house, but it's just like a lot of their procedures and their plans are very rigid. And typically when you're in these type of situations, you have to be malleable and responsive, and these operations have to be more fluid. It's like trying to follow a flood instruction manual, you know? There's also been a lack of funding with FEMA in this area. That's what I've been told by a few people. And so we're in the middle of researching that more to see if it is like a lack of funds that also contributed. But I can tell you that I saw one FEMA person while I was there, and he had a clipboard in his hand, and he was trying to file applications for people. The ones doing all the response, all the emergency response, like getting supplies to people, pulling bodies out of debris, like the hard jobs, they were not being done by any organization or anyone that was getting paid. No one with a badge, no one with a uniform. It was all Special Forces volunteers. It was people, and just people who had driven in from all over the country with ATVs and side-by-sides and Jeeps. And every day they were loading up supplies, taking them up mountain roads. People were bringing in bulldozers and excavators and creating access. There was one guy we interviewed. The state told him that it was going to be 100 days before they were able to get the road built. And these two guys went and took equipment out of a rock quarry, and they built the road back in 2 days. And it was like that everywhere. There was dudes on mini X's and tractors and everything, just clearing debris and pushing rocks out of the way and getting people out of their houses. There was people that hadn't been contacted in 4 or 5 days. There was people who had been contacted by FEMA, given like a little bit of supplies and said, we're going to come back and get you. And 10 days had went by and no one had come back for them. And it was volunteers who finally came back for them and got them off the mountain and stuff. It's like, it was a very poor response. There is no argument about that. And like I said, I'm not trying to throw eggs at FEMA's house, and I'm not trying to make this into a conspiratorial thing. Just the fact of the matter is that we just cannot rely on government agencies to help us. Like in most cases, government agencies, I feel, are there to really hurt us more than they are help us. And like, no matter how you feel about politics, no matter how you feel about me or anything else, at the end of the day, it's like, if something really bad happens in this country, like if something bad happens intentionally, you know, who knows how many people are here that want this country to burn? Like, most of the people who come across the southern border, from the border security people that I've hung out with and talked to, they find a lot of Eastern Europeans. Most of the people who come across our border, you know, illegally, they're not even from South America. It's like, what are those people really here to do? And what is this sort of master plan that it seems like is unfolding to just take our country and break it apart bit by bit. That's where my mind is. The money that we got from Beacon Hill, I don't even know what the amount is right now. Again, this is all going to become like a story, and it's all going to be transparent, and you'll see where every dollar went. But I do know when I was down there, even we had already gotten over $100,000 in, which is like really warms my heart to see that kind of response. We have 2 houses that money is being contributed to. We've networked with contractors who are coming in. I can take very little credit for any of this. This was all Beacon Hill ministry. Pastor Michael and the people there, they really stepped up and have handled all this. And so, like, if anything, I want them to tell the story of everything going on with that. I'm just helping oversee it and just making sure that funds get to go where they need to, and making sure that they're being handled responsibly, and they're affecting the people who were affected, and that they're not just going into some bank account somewhere or doing something crazy or paying somebody's salary. Like, I know there was a couple people who needed vehicles that had been flooded out, and we were able to get them a vehicle. And there's some people who needed just money, so they had a place to rent while their house was being rebuilt, and so we were able to give them a rental allowance. And I've heard a lot of really good things, not only from Beacon Hill Ministry, but from all these organizations down there. Like, man, the Savage Freedom guys were just incredible, and they kind of helped organize, like I said, right around 100 veterans who went out, and they did most of the grunt work, and they pulled most of the bodies out of the debris, and they saw things and experienced things, and just the smell, man, just the smell there would just stick to your clothes. It was just horrible. And the fact that these people were driving from all over the country with their employers bitter at them for not being at work so they could be there to help because they felt compelled, it opened my eyes that, we obviously have a huge lack of leadership in this country. I mean, on the local level even, but from the presidential level down right now, we have complete lack of leadership. I don't know who's ran the country the last 4 years. It definitely wasn't Joe Biden. I mean, everybody knows that. The dude was senile the day he went into office. And you read these conspiracies about, it was Obama running the country or whatever. And I don't know, maybe it was. I really think I think companies run our country right now. It's obvious. Like, it's obvious to me that big corporations run our country. They are our leaders right now. They have sort of hijacked our system. And I think the solution is to find all of these people, like all the ones that came to North Carolina, who didn't need a pat on their back. They didn't need a paycheck. They didn't need anybody to even tell them thank you. They just came and they served and they helped and they saved people's lives and they gave people closure and they helped keep people fed, like, for nothing, because they felt called to come and do it. And I think we're going to find over the next 6 months, I don't know how this election is going to turn out, but I think either way, we've got to find a way to get our local leaders involved. Like, it's sick that we take people like these special forces veterans who have went overseas and done all this incredible stuff and have been trained to do things that the average human cannot do. And then we bring them back here, and instead of empowering them and using their passion and their heart and their intelligence and their skills to make our country better, they just give them SSRIs and they let them sit around their house and collect a check. And, like, one of the things that hit me the most was, like, talking to those guys. They didn't lose a lot of their friends overseas. They lost them once they came back home. Like, just the suicide rates among veterans. It's like our blue collar people. I don't have the statistic in front of me. I'm rambling to you like I love to do. There's an overwhelming amount of people who are in construction jobs. Like if you look at the suicide rate among men who work in construction and blue collar jobs, their suicide rate is exponential right now. Veterans, their suicide rates are exponential. Like, these people are there to serve a purpose, and they get dogged and ragged on and disrespected. And I hope, if there's anything that I can do to really make a generational change, is I want to take my touring. If I'm already going around to all these towns and all these places, and we're already drawing in crowds, Let's find the people in these areas that want to lead, like those guys that were there with Savage Freedoms, like all those thousands of volunteers that drove in from all over the country that weren't even veterans, weren't anything. They were farmers, they were teachers, they were nurses, they were just people, they were just Americans that wanted to help their fellow Americans. Like that is the country that I think so many of us are hungry to go back to, the one where we're united and where we care about each other and where we look out for each other and we realize that, like, we're all in this shit together. There's a big evil world full of people out there that would love to see this country go down the drain. And unfortunately, a lot of them, I think, work for this country. I think a lot of the people who are trying to bring this country down, we pay their paycheck. It's like, that's got to change. So I'll have a whole story about Western North Carolina. And I have a whole story about a whole lot more. I have so much to tell you. It's just like, I hate social media. I hate posting videos, and I got to get over that. There's so much stuff for us to talk about. So yeah, that's my ramble for today. Maybe I'll start making daily uploads. That's probably what I ought to do. I found that if I'm not uploading and if I'm not talking to you, then it's just some other fake Oliver Anthony music page. And I'm so sorry for all the fake accounts and all the people who message you trying to get you to private message them for a membership card and trying to get money out of you and stuff. I hate that. I personally spend like an hour every day reporting fake accounts, like I do. It drives me crazy. But I have a solution for all that too. So we'll continue to talk. Like this is the beginning of a lot of things. So